We're going to go ahead and get started with our special guest today. And I couldn't possibly be more encouraged than to have Eduardo with us today. And let me just read about the company that he started. And he will tell his story. But tell me if this doesn't sound familiar to you. Bella is the first film produced by Metanoia Films, and our mission is to make movies that matter and have the potential to make a meaningful difference in people's lives. Bella is, if you haven't had an opportunity to see it, is the quintessential redemptive film. It is a film that redeems lives and relationships on all sorts of levels. And this is a product of an artist who has allowed who he is to speak through his art. And a lot of times we can be artists, but we kind of find excuses for not doing that. And yet he has made some choices in his life he'll talk about to actually use his art in a way that impacts other people and speaks positively and speaks the gospel by living it into the culture. And so I want to introduce first, Mark is going to lead in an interview, and so Mark. You want to join us?
Yes, thank you.
Round of applause for Mark.
Well, what can I say? I'm thrilled to be a part of this event. I was actually at the Toronto Film Festival when Bella won the Audience Award. Eduardo Verastegui. Fantastic having you here.
Should we sit down or should we?
Please, please, make yourself at home.
Okay.
Before we get to Bella, I would love to just ask you a little bit about your background and where you started from.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be here and for inviting me here. It's such an honor to be with all these young people. I feel like I'm in the army here, all these soldiers getting ready to go and fight and to use their talents to serve others and to use the media and to speak the truth. So thank you for what you're doing. And I am from a very small town, northern Mexico, called Jicotencatl. This is in the state of Tamaulipas, below Texas. That's where I grew up. And my father wanted me to be a lawyer. I am the oldest one. I have 3 younger sisters. So I went to law school because I wanted to please my father, because I love him. But then after the second semester, I realized that I wasn't passionate about that. And I left the school and I moved to Mexico City to pursue my dream, because I wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a singer. So I started my career in Mexico City at the age of 19, singing in a boy band for 3.5 years, kind of like the NSYNC of Mexico. Many years ago, I was 19, and I was traveling all over Latin America, promoting our albums and doing concerts and etc. Right after that, I started doing soap operas in Mexico. We call them telenovelas over there. And if you want to make a living as an actor in Mexico, we don't have so many options like here. Over there, you have 2 options. Either you do soap operas or soap operas. So you're stuck on that. So that's what I did for almost 4 years. I did like 5. And then I moved to Miami, the capital of Latin America. That's how they call it, actually the capital of Latino music. And I moved there to record my first solo album in Spanish. And I lived there for 2 years. And one day I was flying from Miami to Los Angeles to promote that album. And on the plane, I remember I was sitting with my manager, and besides him was this person who happens to be the VP of casting for 20th Century Fox. Make a long story short, he invited me to do an audition for this film he was working called Chasing Papi. And I told him, I don't speak English. I mean, I knew how to count 1 to 10 and, gallina chicken, my cat is red, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, what is the bathroom, and things like that, And the only reason why I knew a few words in English is because when I was 14 years old, my family, knew some people in a little town in Oklahoma called Moore, Oklahoma. So I went there for a few months, and I was going to be there for the whole year, for like a, how do you call that in English, exchange student program, But then I broke my arm. So after a few months, 2-3 months, I came back to Mexico. I didn't learn English. I broke my arm, and everything went really bad. So anyway, I'm in here. I'm in front of this casting director, telling him that no English. He spoke little Spanish, and he told me, why don't you just memorize the 5 pages of the audition and give it a try? And we're looking for a Mexican actor with an accent, natural accent. So maybe you can do that. So I remember the only perfect English that I knew were those 5 pages. I rehearsed like you have no idea, day and night. I record many people, and then I was sleeping with the lamp and everything. And next thing you know, I did the audition. The director, she didn't know that I didn't speak English. So probably she thought, wow, what a great actor. He can do accent, I wasn't acting at all, That was my real accent, and I was dying. I was so nervous, and on top of that, she interrupted me in the middle of the audition, and she started giving me directions. And I was like, I had no idea what she was saying. I was just looking at her, smiling, like pretending like I understood everything. Like, okay, of course, sure. And I was trying to guess what she was saying, but anyway, I got the part. I moved to LA, immersed myself in the language, not allow myself to speak Spanish with anybody, so I can force myself to start thinking in English. Because when you're 28 and you started from zero, it's very hard. It's not like when you're a kid that you can learn everything so fast, So, and I did the film, Chasing Papi, and after that, that's when I realized that I was using my talents in a very selfish way. I realized that the reasons why I wanted to be in this career when I was 18 years old were very superficial reasons. Everything was the fame, money, pleasure, success, etc. And I achieved all the things that I thought by achieving those things I was going to be a happy person, and I was going to be I was going to have peace. I was going to be happy and fulfilled. And I realized it was the opposite. After achieving, a certain level of success, money and fame, I realized that the lifestyle that I was living was unfulfilling, and I was empty, and I was confused, and I was lost. Something was missing in my life. Can you imagine a young kid from a small town, Jicotencal, next thing you know, his dream was one day to be in Hollywood. Well, I was in Hollywood with 15, 20 people working for me, managers, agents, publicists, lawyers, etc. And I was not happy, and I was empty. And so that's how I started my career, and that's how 5 years ago I was facing that moment in my life where I didn't know what to do.
So
I'm gonna stop there so you can keep asking more questions. Otherwise, I don't want to give the whole thing. It was what a long answer for a very simple question. I'm sorry.
That was fabulous. No, that was exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
And you actually stopped just at the next place. The next place would be, so there you are at a crossroads.
Thank you, man.
You are a man of faith, but you're living a life that doesn't necessarily reflect that.
Right.
So, how did things change?
Well, I always use the analogy of, by the way, I've only been speaking English for a few years, so I hope you understand what I'm saying, okay? Sometimes I don't even understand myself, but anyway, I always use the analogy of, have you ever seen the Greyhound dog races? How do you say that?
Sure,
Perros galgos?
Yes, dog
Greyhound?
races.
Okay. They're chasing this rabbit, right? That is made of metal or plastic. It's a fake rabbit. And they're chasing this thing. And once in a while, one of those dogs bites it. And what happened to that dog? He bleeds. He's in pain. He suffers.